Okay, so we're still on slide 5, which is family pictures of the Jameses. So I just wanted to show you quickly, as we did put it on our family tree, that we have a portrait of old Jim. So the first picture is a portrait of old Jim. This actual portrait was in my great-grandparents' house, so people like my grandmother and my father knew this painting quite well. It's a very big painting. And it was donated to the Museum of Somerset, so it's our little kind of claim to fame, I guess. We have a family portrait in a museum. He was quite a prosperous wine merchant in Taunton, so this is why we sort of know quite a bit about old Jim and why it's quite exciting for us to find out that he's actually the one who originally made the scarlet ring, which has still been passed down in our family. The second picture on here that I wanted to put up is a picture of old Jim in his older years with his son, called James as well, who's known as Young Jim, and then his son, so James again, but this one's often known as Jack. And Jack is my great grandfather, so this is my grandfather's father. So it's been a picture that we've saved in the family quite a lot and often shown at family gatherings and such. We're quite lucky that my uncle David is very much into photography and is very good with technology, so he's been able to scan all these old pictures and put them on a drive, which he's sent to me. So these are how I've managed to keep them and got my hands on them. So it's nice that he's actually saved all the old pictures of our family members. They're all saved now forever, thanks to his knowledge of technology. So I just wanted to include that because it sort of brings these people to life, and it's quite exciting to think that it is old Jim who made the ring. Um, but then, because he was such a sort of important figure in our family, we're quite curious as to why his daughter Annie, who wrote the family history, never wrote anything at all about the Anne who he made the ring for. So it's very confusing for us. So this is why I'm going to lead on to the next slide of the tablet, which has sparked many, many debates in our family about maybe why Anne was left out of the family tree for so long. So this tablet is a writing tablet, and it came along with the ring, and the inscription reads, Anne Scarlet, the gift of her cousin James Scarlet, as a token of sincere affection, and it's marked on December 31st, 1936. So this was given to Anne Scarlet when she was around 16 years old. He would have been about 19 years old, we think. Now, this tablet has made us question whether maybe Anne Scarlet and old Jim were more than just cousins and were actually much closer than that, and could have potentially been lovers or have been intending to get married one day, and she was always too ill to be able to do it. And this could explain why the family has left them out on the family tree and never wanted to mention them, because maybe it was quite taboo maybe for them, especially as old Jim gained more status in his older life. Maybe he didn't want that to be known about him, or maybe his daughter who wrote it knew about it and just didn't want that to be known about her father. Or we have many, many questions about really just why this ring has been important in our family and why it's been completely and utterly left out of our family history. Um, and it's only been in recent years, with me wanting to do this project and my dad visiting Thornton, that actually we've found out more about it and finally resolved this mystery, and it's just very curious to us all. So I'm just going to move on to my last slide, which I've just dubbed the ring bearers. And this is more of a summary slide just to sort of explain who's had what in the family and who's sort of owned the ring throughout the family. So this picture is actually a picture of my grandmother, so I just wanted to show you because it sort of shows the age difference between her and her older brother. So the tall one at the very end is Jimmy or James, and the little one in the middle right next to him is my grandmother. So it's just to sort of show how the age difference and maybe why it might help you to sort of visualize this. So what we know is that Anne Scarlett passed away, and her cousin, old Jim or James, made the ring for her as a mourning ring and kept it, we guess, for quite a few years before he gave it to his daughter, or his daughter somehow got her hands on it. We don't know if she got her hand, if she had the tablet and the ring at the same time, or even really how the ring, the tablet came to her. And maybe when Anne Scarlett, the original Anne Scarlett, passed away, the tablet went back to James, and then he gave it to his daughter as well. But we don't really know how at all the tablet has been moved. But either way, what we do know is that during the Second World War, Jimmy went to visit his great aunt Annie, and whilst he was there, she gave him the tablet and the ring to give to his little sister, because his little sister was called Anne Scarlett, and she wanted someone who also bore the name of Anne Scarlett to have the ring, as the inscription said, in memory of Anne Scarlett. So it's quite interesting that it never went to my grandmother's older sister. And my grandmother was very young. I think you can see in this picture. This picture was taken around the time of the war, so she wouldn't have been much older than she was in this picture. So she was only about 8, sort of 9 years old, she reckons, during this time. So it's very interesting that it came to her at such a young age, and it really just came to her because of her name. So I'm going to end the presentation here. I hope that it was clear enough and interesting enough for you, and has given you a bit more background information about maybe my family and the ring, and how we've all sort of worked together to try and piece it all together, and how it's something that we're all quite interested in my family. My dad's got that massive book that you sort of saw me going through with all family history information. My uncle has an extensive collection of all the old family pictures that he's meticulously scanned and preserved now on a hard drive, so we have them forever, so that I can do projects like this. So thank you very much for listening, and I shall see you during the interview, which will be the next part of this portfolio.